Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Cool Colas here to bring you the hustler's perspective. Hope you guys are having a great day today. I just did a couple videos not too long ago. You guys should check them out. One of them talking about apps that you should put on your phone that can help you earn a little bit of cash. Another one's talking about paid research tests and how I earned about $500 to $600 doing it. So again, feel free to check those out. They're at your disposal at this channel, and you can kind of get some good advice from that. But today, the next topic I want to talk to you all about is about something that is a little more serious, but still pretty informative to the point where it can really help you guys out. So today I want to talk to you all about how I was able to pay off about $3,500 in credit card debt, and what I did, that actually worked for me. So I'll tell you my story and what happened, and then I'll kind of elaborate on what I did going forward. Um, so when I was a teenager, my mom, she basically had me apply for credit cards and put the credit cards in my name because it would help build my credit, or she believed that it would help build my credit. So she didn't really give me one credit card. She gave me like five or six, or made me sign up for five or six. Now, mind you, others look at my credit cards and all the credit cards I have, and they're like, Nick, what were you doing? And I keep saying the same thing to people, and I want to drill in you guys' heads why it is so important to be understanding, empathetic, and to look at things from all perspectives. As a child, as a teenager specifically, the only thing you want to do is listen to your parents. The only thing that you want to do is listen to the advice they give you because you trust their advice and because you believe that they want nothing but to have your best interest. And that's not to say that she didn't, because my mom obviously wanted to have my best interest because she wanted to help build my credit. But it wasn't the way, and it didn't really work out in my favor the way that I hoped that it would. At least having six really didn't. That's the bottom line about that. So I got to the point where, um, like all my credit cards are pretty much getting maxed out because I couldn't really afford to go to some of the schools and things like that that I went to, and I couldn't afford some of the accessories and things like that that came with that. So specifically college is when things really started kind of like going like downhill there. But I had a bunch of cards. I still have a lot of them. I had two Best Buy cards. I had a Reward Zone and I had a regular card. I had a Macy's card. I had a Target card. I have a Care Credit card, and I had a Chase card. So I think that is six. Yeah. So as far as these credit cards went, it was a pain because, like I said, I lost two of my jobs. I had no money, like really to kind of rely on besides unemployment at the time. And at some point, my unemployment ran out. Then I was like Ubering, and I could barely make ends meet because I had a ton of other bills. I had a high car note. My rent was high. I was living in an apartment, and this may not sound like a lot to you all, especially if you live like in New York City, or if you live in like Los Angeles or even Denver or places like that. But my rent was like pretty much a G. It was like $1,000, and I was paying it pretty much all by myself. A lot of y'all are probably like, "Oh, that's pretty standard," but you gotta think. I lost my job. I was pretty much collecting unemployment. At some point, I was doing Uber. I had to do Ubers for a long time in order to kind of make up the money for that, the car note, and all the other bills I haven't even discussed yet. And this is not even including my student loans, which hadn't kicked in at the time. So anyway, so let's just say my expenses were somewhere around like almost 3,000 a month. It was somewhere around there. And I had all these credit cards, and my credit cards I think altogether were like 300 a month, like all like five or six of them at the time that I was paying. I had no help, or I had little help. I'll say that I had little help. And that little help I had was to help me pay off the other expenses. and I like really did not know what to do. I was in a rut. I felt like I was in a dark place that I would never come from, hence where the depression came. And by how I said, like, I gained a bunch of weight in my other video because I was depressed, I was stressed, I was tired, I felt beaten, and all this other stuff. So the reason why I'm telling you my story is not necessarily to even garner empathy. While I hope that you understand and I hope you are empathetic to my situation, because you never know when you'll get in it, and you'll never know when somebody you love gets in it. And, it hurts to see people like that. At least to me, at least the people I care about, it hurts to see them like that. Um, it's to tell you all to learn from mistakes I've made, mistakes that have been put on me, and situations I've been put in that may or may not have been in my control. I think a lot of this probably wasn't in my control at a certain point, but that may or may not have been in my control. May or may not be in yours. So I had a lot of credit card debt. I think, and I still have a little bit of it, but I mean I'm getting rid of it, and this method that I'm using is working in my favor. So like I had about $800 on I think it was my best one of my Best Buys. The other one was 1,300. Macy's was somewhere around 1,300. My Care Credit was up there. My mother kind of helped me with that one because she kind of used it here and there as well too. And she ended up kind of helping me with that one. As far as my Chase card, it was at like 1,600. My Target card was at like 2,300. So I had all these cards and all these lines of credits just going out basically. And it's affecting my credit because obviously my utilization is high. My utilization was at like 95% because they all are pretty much maxed out. So basically, what I did was one day I had to sit down and I said, you know what? This situation right here is paramount. I've got to get rid of these credit cards. So what I started doing was I put myself on a schedule, and I got what all the interest rates were, because the thing that was killing my cars wasn't just because a lot of these cars were in the thousands or close to the thousands or 2,000s. It was because the interest rates were so crazy that anytime I paid off that damn minimum payment, it would soar. And I'm like, whoa, I just paid like $30. I paid $70. I paid all this money. Like, why is it still going up? The interest rates will kill you, and they will kill you even more on retail cards. Please beware, because my Macy's card was at like 30% interest at a certain point. And you really want to be careful about that. You really do, because it will eat away at your pockets. And when you're a young adult and you got, student loan debt, because I have like 75K in student loan debt from getting a chemical engineering degree for 7 years that did not benefit me. I just wanted to make that point. Um, and and when you're trying to just make it, and like you're lost and all these things happen to you, you want to keep your expenses as low as possible. And me, that's kind of like the decision that I had to make at a certain point. So here's my recommendation to you guys. The first thing that I would do is I would cut all possible costs, because there's no telling how much your job or whatever you're doing as a hustle is going to pay you. When me, I had to cut my in the car insurance. First of all, I had to look for like lower insurance rates, because at the end of the day, I live in Michigan. You all know, or if you don't know this, Michigan has the highest insurance rate of any state in the entire United States of America. It has the highest rate. I think my insurance at the time was like $270, and that's actually pretty cheap compared to some of the other like rates that I've heard. I had to cut my insurance. I had to get a different apartment because that G that I was paying wasn't cutting it. I had my car. I kind of needed to rely on it, so I didn't really do anything about that. But in your situation, I'd recommend that you sell it and get like a hoopty, or a car that is can get you from A to B and things like that. If you live in a city that has like public transportation and it's accessible and it's safe, then I'd recommend you use that as well too. Michigan is not one of those places that has a good public transit system. Obviously, Illinois, Chicago is pretty good. Obviously, somewhere like New York is pretty good. Again, safety could be an issue, but you get the point. Um, I'd cut anytime you go to like restaurants and stuff like that. You go on dates and things like that, or you want to go out to eat just with your friends, or you go to a bar, you buy drinks. I would cut all of that out. The grocery bills, I would cut those low. And then the consumers, well, consumers, I guess, is in Michigan, maybe a couple other places, but your energy bills, you make sure you get those as low as possible. Turn off lights. If you can't absolutely can't pay it, there are other options. Like there is a way where you can I forget what the name of the place is, but there's a company that you can talk to about potentially freezing your energy bill if you absolutely cannot pay it and you can't afford it. You have to be able to prove that though, and I forget what the process is of that, but we can go into that in another time. I would recommend that as well too. I would recommend that if you can stay with your parents, like for example, if they're allowing you to, if like they're bearable to live with, because your mental health is very important as well too. If or if you have like a friend who will let you crash for a little bit until you can get on your feet, or an associate or an uncle, whoever, take advantage of that. Don't look at it as, oh, I got to have my own because of the fact that I got to prove that I'm independent. Only do it unless like it's a mental thing. That's the only way. Mental being like your mental sanity could be compromised if you do anything else. So again, like if you have that opportunity, take it by all means. Please, absolutely take advantage of all those opportunities. Keep your expenses as low as possible, because a lot of people, they're like, oh, I got to make more money. I got to make $16 an hour. I got to make $18 an hour. I got to make $20 an hour. It's not about how much you make, because at the end of the day, you're going to have more stress because your job is going to require more of you, and they're going to work you like a dog. So nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working like a dog, but you may be so overwhelmed that you may become impassioned, not unpassionate about what you're doing, meaning you won't perform well, meaning you'll hate your job, meaning you'll hate your life. Just consider those things before you talk about, hey, I need more money. Sometimes it's just better to live a simpler life. It's better to live a life that has less clutter. It's better to have a life that has less extravagant things, because really, at the end of the day, material things don't really matter that much. And you have to start thinking about that. You have to start thinking about it in a minimalist, at least semi-minimalist way. So that's the first thing I would say, is cut your expenses, keep them as low as you possibly can. The second thing I would say, whew, that was a mouthful. The second thing that I would say is to do this method I call the snowball effect. If you have a job, make sure you're setting a certain amount of money aside, or a hustle that you're doing, a certain amount of money aside, um, where like you can put down more a month. So for example, what I did, just giving you an example for my Best Buy card, my minimum payments were $25. I had an $800 balance. So what I would do is every time that I got a check, I would like set aside $300, because I had the availability to do that. You might not have that. You might have to set aside 200. You might have to set aside 100. But make sure it's more than the minimum. That's the important thing. I set aside $300. So that first check, and mind you, I get a check every 2 weeks. I set aside $300, put it to that card, and only focus on that card. Just pay the minimums on the other one until you get the opportunity to start paying on them, and then start just knocking them down. And eventually what will happen is you'll notice that your expenses will start going down more. So you'll have more availability in money to put towards paying off the next card, right? Because before, let's say that, hey, I'm snowballing one of these cards, so I'm paying 300, but meanwhile I'm paying 60 on one card, I'm paying 50 on another card, I'm paying 20 on another card, I'm paying 10 on another card, I'm paying 50 on another card. Then you have all those other payments that you're still paying. And then after that card is done, you don't have that burden of the 300, but you're snowballing these other ones. So at some point, you're only paying the 50, the 20, and the 10. Then you pay off the one that has a $50 minimum because of the fact that you're, snowballing that one. Then it becomes the 20 and the 10. Then you pay off the 21. Then it's just the $10 one, and then you're just snowballing that one. Then you have all this money freed up, and you don't have to snowball anymore. Maybe you can start getting rid of your debt, because that's gonna be a doozy. Or maybe you need to, student loan debt, or maybe you need to, get rid of like your car note. So again, that's just something to try. Um, I did that. I did that for about 3 months, 2 or 3 months. Again, I have a pretty decent paying job, depending on what you call decent. I don't care about discussing the qualifications of my money because I don't get into that. I think anybody who does get into that misses the point about how money works, how life works, how success works. I think it's a very old school thing, and I think it's time to get out of that. I make $19.23 an hour, but mind you, I do want to throw out the disclaimer that I do pay about $400 to $500 in gas because I drive 2 hours. So that's already that out the way. So my pay is already getting knocked down. So I got to hustle still. So I am able to put that money aside. You may not have that opportunity. You may have a $12 an hour job and you're just going up the street. But you still may have the same availability. You still may have that $300. You still may have $200. Again, whatever you can afford is what you should do, but make sure that it's more than the minimum if you're trying to just get rid of it. Remind you, you have to be in the mindset that I'm going to get rid of these credit cards. If you're not in that mindset yet or not in the financial stasis, that's one thing, you know? And I think then the one thing you can look to is hustles. And I got a lot of information on my page that can help you out, that can make you a little bit of extra cash. But anyway, that's just, I'm just throwing it out there for you. But anyway, try that snowball method. Like you got to balance on a car that's $800. Maybe one check, you put 300 down, pay the 300. Then you get rid of that interest that could just kick you in the ass, and you get rid of the minimum payment. Then you put 300 more down the next check. Then you get rid of that interest that could kick you in the ass, and then you also get rid of that minimum payment. Then you put 300 more down. Guess what? Well, you put 200 more down. Guess what? The 800 is gone. And you only did that in 3 checks. And that's because you budgeted your money, you cut your expenses, and you thought about it and planned it out wisely. So there's that. The next thing that I would encourage you all, and I want to say this as a disclaimer to kind of end off everything here, is do not get too many credit cards. I'd recommend you really get none. If you absolutely don't have to, don't get any, because here's the bottom line. If you can't pay it out twice in cash, you can't afford it. You can't afford it. If you can't pay it out once in cash, you totally, outright, you totally can't afford it. Not even a little bit. And I think you need to stay with that mentality before you start buying things, before you start buying cars, before you start buying even a house. Like, think about that as well too. Before you start buying clothes, because people put clothes on credit cards. Trust me, I was one of those people who did that back when I was younger. Partially because I wanted to, partially because of influence. Like I said, like if you can't afford it by paying it outright, like right then and there, then you absolutely can't afford it. If you can't pay it twice, then you also can't afford it either, in my opinion. I think that you need to have this mentality that you're in a place where you're comfortable. And that may not mean, you have a stable job. That just may mean that you're comfortable with the stasis of life that you have created for yourself and the way that it is going and the way that it is functioning. So with that being said, with the credit cards, you just want to be very careful. If you do have a credit card, don't try not to go over that limit for yourself. Make sure you're paying it down. Make sure you're paying extra on it. Make sure that you're paying it on time as well too, because those late fees are going to kill you. Make sure you're careful about that interest rate. Make sure that you're monitoring your credit when you can, because that'll screw up your credit because of utilization, and it'll definitely screw it up if you can't pay it. Trust me, I've been there, because not being able to pay it at certain points screwed up my credit. It did. And I'll talk about that in another video, but again, try the snowball method. It should work out in your favor. But again, I'd encourage you, if you have to go the credit card route, I'd say stick to 1 or 2, preferably 0, but stick to 1 or 2. Don't go past that. Please don't. Because at the end of the day, I was 24, I think about 24 years old when I was going to get my first car from a dealership. It was technically a used car. It really was new because it only had 7,000 miles on it. But my used car, I had all those credit cards. I was paying those credit cards, with my mom helping me, of course. And guess what? It didn't do anything for me because I wasn't able to get a loan for a lower rate. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say. If you guys like what I have here and I said, then feel free to subscribe to The Hustler's Perspective. If you want to subscribe to or check out my Facebook channel, then you can check out The Hustler's Jackpot. If you want for my blog, Hey, honey, how you doing? I'm shooting a video. Yeah. If you want to check out like the Facebook page for my blog, check out the Hustlers Jackpot. If you want to check out the Facebook page for this channel here, you can check out the Hustlers Perspective YouTube channel. If you want to check out my actual website for my blog, you can check out thehustlersjackpot.com. If you want to check out my Instagram page for business, you can check out at the Hustlers Jackpot. And if you want to check out my personal page, you can check me out on Instagram at Cool Colas. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say and got a chance to really learn something, and maybe can learn from my experience as well too. Because again, when I talk about credit cards, understand this. If you're going to get a credit card, it should be an absolute must. It should be an absolute emergency. You should make sure you're responsible about it, because it's really not doing you the justice that you think it's about to do you. So, and again, I know at the end I use that example of when I went to the dealership, I wasn't really able to get a better interest rate than I wanted, or a good interest rate, I guess, without having to spread my payments out to 84 months actually, because of the fact that my credit wasn't. It was almost as if like I really didn't do too much to my credit, despite having paid those credit cards. So and I didn't have a credit union also as well too, that could maybe like vouch for me and the things that I've done. But anyway, like I said, if you guys like what you saw, feel free to subscribe. I got a lot of more information to come. Again, check out my alter ego. It's not me, by the way. It's my alter ego. His name is Nick Magnet. Okay, he kind of looks like me. He's dark skinned. He's got the beard. He's got the curly hair as well too. He looks just like me, but he has a channel, and that channel talks about comics, comic related things, TV shows, DC TV, Marvel TV, Marvel movie, DC movie, the Arrowverse, anything that you can think of. Anyway, the information on there is cool, and you'll really enjoy it, and you'll think it's funny. Cherie Magnus on there too. That's my beautiful fiance that I talk about all the time. She's over there like doing some stuff with her dog. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later, and I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say. Keep hustling.